We're putting the band back together.
The numbers all go to 11.
I'm talking about bands that rock. Led Zeppelin. What about Sabbath? AC/DC. Motorhead.
Does that mean it's louder? Is it any louder?
Well, it's one louder, isn't it?
We're not worthy. We're not worthy.
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
I get up off the ground and raise my head. Days like this, think I should be dead. One for Satan, two for me. Let's cheat the devil, it's fun, don't you agree?
Welcome to the Nothing Shocking Podcast. I'm your co-host, Jeff Untied, and with me in Dog Bowl Studios is
Coach Nez.
You can find the Nothing Shocking Podcast on Libsyn or any pod catchers. Like our Facebook page or follow us on Twitter at NoShockPod.
You can also find the Nothing Shocking Podcast on Rock Rage Radio every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. Central Time. Our sponsor is Ragged Records, located in downtown Rock Island, Illinois, soon to be coming back to downtown Davenport, Iowa. We would like to thank the Hong Kong Sleepover for letting us use their music for our intro and bumper ending. Tonight's guest is
Shawn Drover of Act of Defiance,
formerly of Megadeth and Eidolon.
Eidolon, yeah.
So, fantastic interview. He's got some new stuff he's working with his brother Glen Drover, formerly of Megadeth as well. Yep. What a great interview.
Yeah, it was fun. And another little interesting tidbit, when he was in Megadeth, he played with James Lomenzo, also, who we got coming up.
Yes, they were bandmates for a short time in Megadeth, but nonetheless, we did both interviews on the same day, so how fun was that?
Yeah, that was awesome.
Well, let's get to that interview.
All right. Good night.
Good night. Hey, Shawn. It's Eric.
Hey, dude.
Shawn, welcome to the Nothing Shocking Podcast. I would like to introduce you to my co-host, Jeff Untied.
Shawn, thanks for joining us.
Hey, buddy. Good to see you guys. Thanks for having me.
Well, hey, I've been in correspondence with you. You're working on some new material with your brother, Glen. Can you give us and our listeners an insight of what's going on?
Yeah, actually, you guys will be the first people I speak to really about it in any kind of media forum. But yeah, we started working on some music probably a couple of months ago now. It's been a couple of months. We've been talking about doing something. Glenn owns his own studio up in Canada. So, why not utilize the fact that, we don't have to go and pay huge studio costs and et cetera, and get some friends together that we admire and we respect and work on a record. And that's exactly what we're doing. We have Glenn and myself, of course, and we have bass player named Joe DiBiase, who was in Fate's band called Fate's Warning out of Connecticut for years and years and years. Great player, friend of ours. So he's going to play bass on it. And we have a singer from Germany who's in a band called Metallium for a number of years. And his name's Henning Bossi, who's a fantastic melodic singer. So that's what we're doing currently. It's a slow process because, life gets in the way. We all have things that we deal with and stuff. And so we do that, but when we have the time, we work on it and stuff. And so far, it's turning out to be really exciting. We're pretty happy with the material we've done so far.
Fantastic. Are you privy to giving us a name of the band?
We don't have a name.
No name yet. Okay.
I thought of Iron Maiden and Judas Priest, but somebody told me that those two names are taken. So we might go with Van Halen. All the good names are taken, dude. Yeah. Maybe we should call ourselves Bologna Sandwich or something.
That works too. It works.
No, we don't have a name at all yet. That's that we haven't even thought about that, to be honest.
That's cool.
As far as the songwriting collaboration goes with and the dynamic components of working with your brother and the other artists that you just spoke of, how has it been different and similar to the other endeavors that you've been a part of?
Well, it's been really similar to the first band that Glenn and I did years ago, which is a band called Eidolon. We released actually 5 records on Metal Blade in early 2000s, right before we both got into Megadeth. And the dynamic of that is that I write most of the material. Although Glen does contribute to some of it, I usually have the main germ of ideas, and he, of course, he records all that stuff. So, he's kind of the studio guy. He's the guitar player, but he handles all of the studio recording affairs, and I just kind of take on the job of creating most of the music. And we fine tune it, and he tweaks it and kind of makes it his own in a way. But that's kind of the working relationship we have with that, because if Glen wrote all the music, I'd basically be doing nothing, and he would have to tackle all the work on his own. So we made a decision years ago that that was back in the mid '90s, actually, when we put out our first bit of music before we got signed to Metal Blade. That's always been the working dynamic. Is I create most of the material, and he handles all the recording affairs with that, and it's worked out quite well.
Fantastic, fantastic.
That's what we're doing this time as well. Yeah, that's basically, at this point, we're on song 4. I think we're going to do 8 or 9 songs. And so far, I've written all of them. So that's just kind of how it worked out.
Oh, you just stole Jeff's question. So I'll take the next. I'll take the next question. We speak to a lot of artists and talk to a lot of artists about their theories on when it comes to releasing new material in the present day. And some artists say, hey, we're doing it one song at a time because tangible sales for full length albums are not what they are or what they were. And then we also talk to other artists that believe that a 5 to 6 song EP is all you need these days as far as when it comes to releasing new material. Where do you and your brother stand on when it comes to new material? Full length album still the standard, or do you guys kind of work around the new trends?
No, I have no interest in new trends, because they're trends. The way the current state of musical affairs is in terms of releasing music is, to me, is pathetic. We're old school in a sense that we're going to release the record. It's going to be on vinyl. That's one of the ways you can get it. Of course, it'll be on digital, online, and all that stuff. But we're sticklers to we're basically doing it for ourselves. Glen still buys vinyl, still collects vinyl. So to me, I want to have a physical product in my hands for all the hard work and all the being creative and the whole beautiful process of creating new music, which I love to do. At the end of the day, for me, I still want to have a physical product in my hand that says, wow, man, we worked on this record. We worked really hard. We're very proud of the music, and I can physically look at it, read the credits, look at the pictures, look at the artwork, and throw it on my turntable and listen to it. Of course, it'll be on CD as well and in digital form. But to me, look, any monkey can release a song on their Facebook page or on YouTube. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but again, nobody buys music. Not many people buy music anymore. Let's be honest, right? Even though it'll be released digitally, someone will copy it, put it on YouTube, and then everybody will listen to it and not buy it, and then inject their negative opinions and all that other horseshit. That's just the way of the world. But for those who do support music and still buy vinyl and still buy CDs, or even still go on one of the outlets that you can buy the music digitally online, we want to have that for them. You know what I mean? I don't want to fall into what the music is, the state of musical affairs is right now. I don't like it. Ever since Napster came out and all that shit, over 20 years now, I don't like it at all. And what has happened is, because of that, you see the dwindling sales in music every year. Every year that sells less and less and less and less and less. That's mm-hmm. factual information, and that's not good, is it?
No, not at all.
You're talking.
I don't want to. I really don't want to get into this huge negative conversation about this, but that is the truth. I mean, this generation, they can't. First of all, it's hard for them to even go somewhere and buy vinyl or go buy a CD because most of the music stores have closed. Yeah. So it's certainly very easy for somebody to go online and just get it because it's there. Why would they want to invest $15 or $20 buying something when they can get it for free? I think that's the viewpoint of most of this generation. And again, if you don't know any different, it is what it is. So they don't view it as a bad thing. But what I think a lot of them don't realize or probably don't care about is it's really hurt this industry to the point of where now, and everybody's scrounging and trying to find ways to generate commerce and stay afloat, with that. So that's a long-winded answer to your question, but yeah, I'm pro vinyl and pro physical product if possible, and that's what we're going to do with this record.
Well, you're talking to two guys that are big time collectors, and we buy everything vinyl and CD. So yeah. We
sure.
We don't know anything about that downloading stuff. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's a what do you call that? Necessary evil that you have to embrace it a little bit just to discover new stuff. But then I go searching for the CD or the vinyl as soon as it comes out.
Sure. To put it online, it's not to put it online for someone to buy is not a bad thing, because there is that sector of people who do buy it. They'll buy it off of, I don't even know what outlets. I couldn't even tell you what it is. It's not Spotify. I don't even know, Apple Music or iTunes. You can buy it, whatever that is, right? To go and buy it there. Mm-hmm. That's a great thing. And I appreciate that, but by and large, the people who get the music online don't buy it at all. They just get it off YouTube or Chris, you listen to it, you can find it on Spotify. Yeah. You pay the $10 a month on Spotify. Actually, you don't have to pay $10 at all, do you? I have Spotify on my cell phone, and you listen to tons of music for free.
You do.
It's
you do.
It is what it is, but we ultimately do this for ourselves. We're writing this music and releasing it for ourselves because we believe in what we're doing and we like it, and with hopes that other people could or will like it in the future. That's just icing on the cake.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
Melodically, as far as your new band, how does it compare to your former bands, Eidolon and Act of Defiance?
Well, Act of Defiance is certainly the heaviest thing that I've released, with Henry being an aggressive singer with melodic parts. Henry was a multifaceted singer, a very good singer, but he definitely could scream his head off with the best of them. And that's something that we wanted once I left Megadeth. That's something I wanted to explore. I really wanted to go in a heavier direction, and I'm glad I did. Though this is more in lines with it's more melodic singing. Now Henning can sing melodic aggressive as well. There's no screaming stuff in it or brutal death metal stuff in it. But it's definitely a pure heavy metal record. Nick, it's not a melodic record in a sense of with real, don't mistake what I'm trying to say here. It's going to be a very heavy record, but it's not like death metal heavy. But the music is very heavy and with a more of a melodic approach to,
cool.
I guess old school you would call that. I don't know, not to put a box around it, but melodic singing. So there you go.
With or without the challenges of COVID-19 and with today's technology, recording with other artists is very convenient because you can do your parts at home and then email attachments and Dropbox them or whatever have you. But as far as the what type of challenges has COVID-19 brought to the table when trying to create new music with a new band and new artists to work with?
It hasn't created any challenges whatsoever. I mean, like you expressed with what you just said. I mean, now with the beauty of Pro Tools, anybody can have a setup, certainly for vocals or guitar. Drums is a little bit harder. Drums, I go into studio, an actual studio and cut tracks. That I'm kind of old school in that way too. I would rather just cut tracks in a real studio setup, with drums and stuff. But Glen's studio is set up for that. So that's very convenient for what we're doing. But Henning has his own setup where he has in Germany, and Joe has his own setup where in his place where he lives in Connecticut. So, that has had zero effect on that at all. If nothing, I mean, because of the the way things are right now with trying to stay home as much as possible and all that kind of thing. So given the benefit of more time, so. That's the current situation right now has had zero play in what we're doing whatsoever.
You're the first person that has answered that question in a positive way. Yeah. So many other artists that we've kind of thrown that question out to have expressed we just have had some hurdles to jump over, and you're the first one to say, "Hey, this been easy come, easy go" type of.
Well, I mean, it's to me there are if you have a setup at home or whatever, and you can record, but that has nothing to do with COVID whatsoever.
Yeah.
If anything, like I said, because a lot of people are staying home, a lot of people are not going out to bars or whatever the case may be, or even staying home and working home from work. A lot of people are doing that. You're home more probably now than you probably ever have been.
Mm-hmm.
So why not, if you have the affordability of time, why not utilize it in a positive way and with whatever you're doing, whether it's music or anything else, spending time with your kids and your family, or, of course, on the flip side of the coin with all that, and you didn't ask the question, but it's completely had the touring aspect come to a screeching halt worldwide.
Yeah.
That's a completely different question and conversation. But in terms of studio recording and creating new music, I find it has no bearing on it whatsoever.
Oh, fantastic.
Nice. You've been drumming since the age of 13. How many hours a day do you practice to keep your chops up?
Now?
Yeah.
I'm way up. I don't warm up and practice at all.
That's all right.
I mean, look, I'm just being honest. I mean, there's tons of people who do that, and that's great. For me, I'm just an old school basher, dude. I mean, it's, I play a certain way, and I'm happy with what I do and stuff. I never took a year to try to develop how, play as fast as all these young whippersnapper speed demons that are out there. I just leave that. I applaud it, and I think it's amazing. But I'm just too fucking old at this point for that stuff. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, leave it to the masters who do that. I'm more of an old school kind of guy, and I'm quite content with how I play and with what I've done.
Oh, that's awesome. I've always had a fascination with drums, but I don't have a beat. I can't. It's not good.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's something you have to have, rhythmic tendencies.
Yeah.
I knew when I got in trouble in elementary school. I actually had to write 100 lines saying I will not play drums. I'm paraphrasing. I will not play drums beats on my desk. Basically, you're just tapping away and stuff, and it's I was predestined, I'm sure, to be a musician. Plus both my brothers, Glen and my older brother Brian, were guitar players. My father was a guitar player, so I'm a guitar player. That's it was predestined that certainly Glen and I were going to be musicians, no doubt.
Nice.
Yourself and Chris Broderick, you guys formed Act of Defiance. Was it back in 2014 or was it 2013? Is that how?
The end of 2014, correct?
Okay. You released 2 albums. What is the state of that band? Are you guys still active? Is it an inactive project right now? I guess, where is it going?
It's certainly in limbo. Chris joined In Flames a couple of years back, which is a great gig for him. They're great guys, great band, and he fits with those guys like a glove. So he's quite happy and content to be doing that. With that said, I mean, he was so busy. He basically was gone for about a pretty much a year touring in support of the latest record they put out. And now with what happened in March of last year, that everything was a screeching halt. But I don't know, honestly. I don't know what the guys are doing. I talked to Henry and Matt a little bit here and there, but it's more just like, how are you? Hope you're doing well. We really don't talk about music a whole lot. None of us do, but we're all still friendly and stuff. But I'm sure everybody's doing. Henry's released a couple of things, different kinds of music on his own, which makes him happy. So more power to him and stuff. But that's for me what I'm. I wanted to do something with my brother again and create some new music. And and like I said before, it's like being with the situation we are in. Why not utilize that and create some music? So that's what we're doing.
I wanted to touch upon Birth and Burial and Old Scars, New Wounds, are 2 brutal, heavy albums, and it was the heaviness is a step up from what you were doing during your time in Megadeth. Was that the goal with Act of Defiance, is to kind of push the button on the heaviness and to establish yourself as, hey, I can do this, I can play a lot heavier? I guess the I guess the mindset going into Act of Defiance? What was the mindset?
The mindset was just when we started Act of Defiance, it was Chris and myself, and we were trying to line all the ducks up in a row. It's like, okay, let's write 10 songs. You write 5 songs. I'll write 5 songs. Let's find a bass player. Let's find management. Let's find a record company. On and on and on. All that stuff Chris and I did on our own. And from when we decided to do this, which was November of 2014, we had a record on the shelves in May of 2015. So we assembled the band, did all the things that we had to do, create music, record it, all that stuff in a 6-month time span, which now that I think about it, with the benefit of hindsight, I don't know how we did it. We know there was no predetermined, well, we're going to be heavier than this, or we're going to do this. There was no competition with anything we'd done in the past, or it was just like, look, let's write 10 metal songs, whatever that was going to be, and go from there. And that's exactly what we did. So if you listen to that record, Birth and Burial, some songs are real heavy, some are a little more melodic, some are kind of in between, depending on what the song was and who wrote it. Some songs were more technical. Some of the stuff that Chris did were certainly more of a throwdown of a technical bass kind of thing, but still really heavy. So that's all that was. There was no, we're going to write it this way and we're going to do this and it's going to be heavier than that. There was none of that shit. It was just like, and it's never been like that for me. It's just like, it's always right. Do the best you can at that time. You can't, well, I guess you can, and maybe some people can, but for me, it has to come from a natural, organic place. Like, it's always been the same for me I've been writing, since, and releasing stuff since the mid 90s. So it's like, it's been the same way. It's like, turn the tape recorder on, or now, put your iPhone on, or whatever recording device you have. For me, it's an iPhone. And, when I'm playing guitar, if I come up with something cool, I literally record it. And you assemble a plethora of riffs that in the course of time, you have enough to make songs with, and you kind of put the pieces of the puzzle together. And that's how I've always done it. So
fantastic.
It's always been like that for me.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Just taking it back to Megadeth a little bit. So you had 10 years with Megadeth, playing with your brother Glenn also for parts of that time, and then James Lomenzo.
Yep.
How did that come about with joining Megadeth?
Well, Glenn had the gig first.
Okay.
I was actually in Sweden, going to Sweden to record drums for the last Eidolon album. So just before it was probably maybe a week or two before I was leaving to do that. That was years ago. Glenn got the Megadeth gig, and I was beyond the moon excited for him. It was just, I was so excited for him. Because Megadeth's certainly one of my favorite metal bands of all time. They still are to this day. But Peace Sells to me is one of the best metal records ever put out, for my money. But so he had the gig, and I had to go to Sweden to record drums because we had one more record to do. And I was calling him from Sweden every day. Like, God, I don't even know what that cost me. It cost back then, but just so excited for him and just talking, how are things going and all that stuff. And when I got back home from Sweden, literally the next day, Glenn was saying, look, there's been some problems with Nick and stuff. And like, oh, okay, and stuff. And literally the next day I got home from work, and my brother said, "Are you sitting down?" I said, "What's the matter?" I thought maybe you got fired or got in trouble or something. He said, "Man, they want you to come like on the next plane and do the gig." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" and it's true. I got on the phone with Dave, and they literally wanted me to come that day. I'm like, "Dude, just let me. I'll come out tomorrow morning." And it's like, let me get my stuff together, whatever, and I was on a plane going up to Phoenix, Arizona, and 6 days later, I was on stage in Reno, Nevada.
Fantastic.
I had to learn 15 or 16 songs or whatever it was at the time in 4 rehearsals. So,
wow,
yeah,
that's a story.
Yeah,
that is a story.
Now I knew all the old stuff, like even from memory, like 90%. Peace Sells, Holy Wars, because again, I was such a fan of that stuff. But they just put out a new record, and I didn't know note 1 from it because it had literally just come out.
Yeah.
So I had to learn that. And then the stuff from the 90s that I wasn't as familiar with when they kind of weren't as heavy, I kind of lost interest during that time period. So I had to learn, basically 14 or so songs, whatever it was, that I never heard or have only heard a couple of times. So that was pretty daunting.
Yeah, I would say so.
But again, you just put, you get an opportunity, and do you put your big boy pants on, or do you cave in? And I put my big boy pants on, and there you go.
Yeah, that's awesome.
As far as recording processes go, working in Act of Defiance and any other endeavor you've been a part of, opposed to the recording process with Dave Mustaine, what's the difference? And what's it like?
Well, the Megadeth stuff was all done in recordings. Everybody was in a recording studio. And I'm always for that if possible. Now, either scenario is fine. Like with the stuff I'm doing with Glen, everybody has their own place, and I recorded Glen's place, and that's great. But I'm a little more old school with that sensibility of if everybody can be there working out on hashing out riffs and working on tunes and being there to support each other and all it's such an organic, great process doing that. I love it. And so I'm always an advocate for that happening, everybody being in a real recording studio and doing, with an engineer, with a producer, all that stuff. That to me is the ultimate in terms of recording. Now it doesn't happen as much anymore because of Pro Tools and record budgets have basically gone, so far down that it's the best option for, smaller projects and smaller bands. It's always a better option if you have your own Pro Tools set up. And, for most of the things you're going to put down a record, it's certainly a huge money saver, and that's all great. But given the choice, I'll always pick the entire band being in the studio, being together, creating music, working off of the engineer and the producer, and seeing that, seeing that evolve into a new baby of music. You know what I mean? I find that to be the ultimate.
That is so refreshing to hear you say that too. Absolutely.
Well, I can only speak for myself. You know what I mean? Everybody has different viewpoints about it, and that's great. But again, I'm not a kid. I come from an era where that was the only way you could do it. There were no Pro Tools, and there was no internet and all that stuff when growing up. I'm a product growing up in the 70s and the early 80s. So it was a completely different time. The first demo that we ever did back in 1985, I saved up enough money. I think it was $2,500 at the time. And we recorded in one of the best studios in Canada, a studio owned by the band Triumph, a studio called Metalwork Studios just out of Toronto. I figured if we're going to do this, my mindset was, look, we're going to record a demo, let's go to one of the best damn recording studios in the planet in Canada and go for it. And that's what we did.
Oh,
yeah.
And it seems like, we've spoke to many artists they'll say, this is kind of nice to have that technology to do at home, because when we get together in the studio, we found that it's been kind of counterproductive, maybe doing things that we weren't supposed to be doing instead of working, maybe a little extracurricular activity on the side or what have you. But it's so refreshing to hear somebody say, like, hey, I enjoy the old-fashioned way. It was more productive for me, because as fans, that's what we want to hear. That's what we want to see. So...
Sure. Well, I mean, again, you can't generalize that. That's something that, certainly back in the day, going back to the 70s and 80s and stuff, I'm sure there was a lot of substances flying around the studio that more than one person indulged in. I mean, it's out there. It's, tons of bands from the 70s talked about, doing blow and having a cocaine budget in the studio. And to a degree, maybe that was, and I think it was creative for certain bands, but again, I don't want to be a preacher here or anything like that, and you do what you want, but I've never been an advocate for doing drugs or any of that stuff. Certainly when you're working and creating new music. I mean, I never had one drink before going on stage with Megadeth in 10 years. I never even had one beer before a show. I can't say that same after the show. I found a couple of beers or maybe one shot of Jaeger falling into my hands, but never before a show. I didn't function, do your job and be alert. That was always my mindset for that. But, hey, whatever blows your dress up, man, whatever, if that works for you and you want to do it that way, by all means, as long as it doesn't affect the product. If the product still sounds killer, you know, whatever works for you, go for it.
Cool.
Yeah. So besides studio albums with Megadeth, you also recorded a couple of live albums with them. What's your most memorable experience playing live with Megadeth?
Oh, there's lots. I mean, you know, obviously one of the things that comes to mind immediately is, of course, doing the big 4 shows with Metallica and Slayer and Anthrax, and those were great fun. And especially the first show. Everybody talks about the show that was filmed and released in movie theaters, which was the show from Sofia, Bulgaria, which is a really good show. But the first show that we did was in Warsaw, Poland. It was 106,000 people there. And it was electric. That you could feel it in the air. It was an electric day. Everybody knew the importance of it, and you know, finally, these 4 bands playing together after over 25 years of never doing so. It was a great time, and and everybody, I think, understood and appreciated how important it was for metal and for all 4 bands. So it was a real celebratory thing, and I was glad to be a part of it.
We'd like to thank Shawn Drover for coming on the Nothing Shocking podcast. Unfortunately, we had to end the interview here due to a technical malfunction. Until next time, thanks for listening.
as their last goodbyes. Move to the sunshine, fight the grip of nights. If they ever take from you, then you plug out both their